Rashmita, you're on mute. Hey, all, welcome to Scale Up Thursday. And hey, Rashmita, you there? Okay, I lost Rashmita.
Hi, Vivek. Sorry, I just lost internet for a bit, but I'm back. Hi, good morning, all, and welcome back to another episode from Scale Up Thursday series. Hi, Vivek. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you, Rashmita. And hey, folks, welcome to Scale Up Thursday again. I'm Vivek, Senior Cloud Advocate at Microsoft. And it's going to be an interesting session today. We're going to talk about FinTech products and platform, how to build that, and challenges with startup face in building those kind of products. And yeah, Rashmita, before we get started with the session, let's go and uh, you know share some code of conduct of this event.
Sure. So, before we start today's session, I would request you all to read our code of conduct. We are all here to learn together, so please be respectful of other people's views, understanding of differences, being kind and considerate in the way you engage. The chat will be open throughout, and we do encourage you all to participate. Our speaker will answer all your questions during the session, so please feel free to drop all your questions in the chat section. With this, thank you all and enjoy your session. Over to you, Vivek.
Thank you, Rashmita. So let me bring in our another host, amazing person, Vinayak here. Hey, Vinayak, good morning.
Hey, can you hear me all right?
Yes, I can
Yeah,
hear
hi
you. Good
everyone.
morning. Good morning.
Um, hi everyone. My name is Vinayak Hegde. I'm the C2 in residence for Microsoft for Startups, a global team that helps startups across the world on scaling their business and tech. Um, yeah, and happy to be here and with Vivek and talk to startups about how they're scaling up, how they're building their architecture on Azure, and understanding their product and the problem space they are solving for.
Thanks, Vinayak. And by the way, this is our second episode of Scale Up Thursday. So the this the show is all about how startup build amazing products and the challenges they face. It's not just about non-tech challenges; it's also about tech challenges as well. So we're going to discuss all those things in this particular show. And before even get started with today's agenda, I just want to bring up one of the amazing Learn module which we have, which covers in depth, learning material. If you're an early stage startup, or if you have already have a product, and if you are looking for a lot of things, understanding how to build a startup, this is an amazing for us of learning, and it does cover a variety of things, right? Basically how to validate your startup idea, to building your team, and how do you do the fundraising, how to pitch and other things. So interesting learn module. So here is a link and QR code for you to go and try this learn module and spend some time on this learn module as well. So, Vinayak, I just want to spend one more minute on this Founders Hub. So, can you just let us know, if I'm a startup and getting started, I'm looking to host my product onto cloud, what I should be doing?
Yeah, so you can basically go to startups.microsoft.com, which is our founders of website, and as was shown in the video, we can give you credits. If you're an early adopter from 1K, or a early stage startup from 1K with the idea, or just you have a basic MVP, then maybe 5K, 25K, all the way up to 150K, and you also get a host of other benefits like mentoring. You get access to the Power Platform. You get Microsoft 365, OpenAI APIs. If you want to use like models like GPT-3, you also get access to a whole bunch of technical help. I work closely with startups, and there are other technical teams that can help you validate your architecture before you go live, help you in building your stuff, stuff in all kinds of different in all kinds of different ways. Yeah. So there's a lot to that you can do by going to Founders Hub. You'll just remember startups.microsoft.com, and you can sign up yourself and register your startup as well.
Yep. So one of the things what you can do is use this the
Over to
same
you,
link.
Vivek.
Yep. So basically, you can use the same link, which is aka.ms slash founders hub, and while you're applying for it, there is where you can also mention the referral, and there here is a Microsoft ID which we have the Scale Up Thursday. This is the show, and Scale Up Thursday at Microsoft.com, and you can use that specific referral ID as well, so that we know you applied from this show, and we can process your application faster as well. So yeah, so let's bring in today's guest, who is Koteswara from Recordent, right? So he is founding founding member of Recordent, and I'm just introducing Koteshwara here. He spent a lot of his time in building mobile applications, and one of the amazing thing which noticed was he was part of the OboPay, right? And one of the interesting thing is that's the company which I aspired to work when I was a student in the college, right? And nice to see that as well. And yes, and I say a very interesting thing. I just want to ask Koteshwara to share his story behind building a flight booking app for Emirates as well. Like how is it? How did you build using a Spring framework? And probably you can start with that and introduce yourself as well, Koteshwara.
Hey, thanks, Vivek. Thanks for that introduction. Hi, everyone, and hi, Vivek, hi, Vinayak, and Rashmita, and hello all to Scale Up Thursday viewers. Yeah, thanks for that introduction. Yeah, I was part of after my stay at ObuPay, I got an opportunity, through one of my senior folks who was actually visiting, Emirates for some explicit work, and then they were looking for someone who can do mobile applications or websites, right? So that's how uh, the journey has started. So once I went there, I think what they were actually doing, this was way back, almost exactly 11 years back. So they were building, they already have a very basic HTML website, which is scraped and developed. So they wanted their own uh, website with a much better look and feel. So that's when we started the journey, and we had to build it using in less than 6 to 7 months. They wanted it to go live. So that's when we built that mobile version of Emirates.com, from using some of their scraping services and using the Spring framework. And HTML5 was coming at that instance, but we could not use so much of that. But yeah, so ultimately we were actually live in 6 months time frame, and it was a great experience actually working there for Emirates.
Thanks, Kuteshwar. Yeah, today's definitely agenda is to talk about fintech. So, what was the challenges in fintech product platform? Like, if you're building something for the fintech, fintech application, what do you see as a challenge from your perspective?
See, it depends upon the context of what problem we are trying to solve in this specific fintech product that we are trying to build. But ultimately, if you see the base challenges, slightly would be common in terms of what problem area that you're trying to address, whether it is kind of solving, what is the percentage of either it is businesses or it is the end users who are actually getting impacted and getting a value addition, right? I mean, proving that proof of concept is one of the biggest challenge in terms of getting your evaluation of the product or that fintech product. That that is the biggest thing for any of the upcoming or even an existing startup that is actually in this space. And especially with respect to fintech, if you see, there is financial services that are generally part of this product, and people are always concerned about how this particular startup or this product handles the security of the data. Service can be somehow built, right, and exposed, but uh, uh, how secure are they handling the data, and how compliant are they with the regulations that are there at the land of the law? Because especially with fintech, you cannot just, it's not just like any other product that's there out, because it's, you're dealing with a lot of financial transactions or services that you're offering, right? How good are you complying with the land of the law with respect to all of these? Those are the biggest challenges. And of course, obviously, you have other challenges like especially this post covid, there's a boom in terms of tech resources, unable to find right resources at the right time. That is the biggest challenge. And then and startups like us, we're also looking for some funding, to accelerate to the next level, right? So some of these are some of the challenges that we obviously face, and security and things are obviously built in for anywhere. But primarily, these are some of the challenges that we always focus on. And if we don't focus on, obviously, your product might be there in the market, but if these intricacies are not met, I think you will be losing out very fast.
So when you say challenges in the resources, you mean to say it's a hiring problem, or you are looking for different resources?
Yeah, so hiring was a big challenge. For example, we started in 2019. Recordent has started in 2019, and we were hardly starting up with as I said, obviously any startup, it starts with a prototype, right? So we started with a prototype, and once the prototype, we took it to schools. Maybe we'll talk about what is a problem statement and all a bit later. But once we took it up, and then we wanted to actually build it up, right? Now, once it is proved, getting the right resources, even at that time, this is like in 2019. So getting the right skill set people, especially to work in a startup model, right? It's very difficult. People will say, should I really come or not? I know when there is so much of funding and people show this ESOPs, all of that, that is a different ball game. But attracting talent at the beginning stage, that's you need passionate people, and obviously you don't need any normal employee coming in, right? So that is the biggest challenge. And obviously finding the right talent, as I was saying, recently, even a 2-year old is charging exorbitant amounts, and not having the right skill set still, right? And even if they are coming up, we don't know today, even if we roll out an offer, will they join on the right time, or even if they can even drop off on the last minute. So these are some of the challenges that we had faced, at least in our journey. And that was one of the reasons why we were not as fast as we wanted to be.
So Koteswara, I wanted to kind of zoom out a little bit, and can you? So fintech is a very active genre of startups, or active vertical of startups across India. So if you can tell us, a little bit about the fintech landscape and where Recordant actually fits in, I think that would really help.
Yeah, so see, we there are obviously there are a lot of financial services products that are there in the market. What problem statement that we are trying to solve is in the credit collections, and solve the credit management area. So there are a lot of businesses that are there in India, especially the MSMEs. If you see, there are around 6.5 crores of MSMEs in India, where we are trying to target, help all these SMEs segment with the credit collections, and accelerate their collections flow with different products that we were actually trying to build. So what is actually going to happen in this particular area is, because of the delayed collections, they're in all the businesses are actually in a vicious cycle of always chasing their payments which are not actually coming on, and then they are moving away, or out. Some of them are out of business, some of them cannot accelerate to the next level because of the shortage of funds. So that's where we also wanted to offer some of these solutions for them, like by giving credits, as well as short term loans. We've tied up with some of the financial partners to offer them, credits as and when they wish, and at the same time help them expedite their collections when things are actually not moving with our digital platform. And there are other products which I'll also talk about, like legal notice and all. So in B2B space, we wanted to expedite all these SME segment, at least especially, by offering these credit management and the financial solutions for them, so that they're not stagnated or go out of business because of some of these challenges that they're facing.
So is it like a more like a SaaS solution, or is it like an SDK that integrates with mobile, or combination of both? So how do we work? How do other startups or other financial institutions work with your product?
So it is a SaaS based model. So obviously, each and every member, a business, has to come and register and subscribe for a membership on our site, and they can integrate with their existing account softwares. Maybe at the end of the session, I'll also show a demo on how it works, what it actually does. So it actually deals with all these. See, for us to do credit management, we should know the landscape of the business, right? How they are actually positioned today, and the way that you gauge that is by the amount of invoices and the amount of payments that they're receiving, or having that over a period of time. So how do you get that data? So once they subscribe our membership, we have various mechanisms in terms of getting the data into our platform, which will give us some sense of understanding where they are right now, and to also follow up with the account receivables that are supposed to be captured, and also offer what kind of solutions that we can offer for them. It can be analytics, or it can be any of these things. So they people can, for example, any businesses today, if you talk about, most of them use accounting softwares like Tally, Busy, Focus 9. Some good enterprises use Zoho Books or QuickBooks, right? All of these. So at this point, we have integration with Tally, and we also do database to database integration, because there can be huge amount of data if a big enterprise is actually in business for a long, right? So we do integration, we get all that data, and we're also building plugins for Busy and other accounting softwares to get the data and integrate.
So Koteshwar, you did talk about the the journey, right? You have the slides where we can, understand this even more in deeper, from not just from the history of your startup, but also the architecture and everything.
Yeah, let me
Can
just,
you just share yeah.
yeah, present my, I'm just sharing my screen. Let me know if you can see that.
Yeah, we can see
Uh,
that.
okay. So I'll just walk you quickly through what we are, where we are in terms of even technology and things like that. So we are an AI-powered credit management and a account receivable platform for all the SMEs. That's what we wanted. We're actually building. So the AI part is actually, going to evolve. At this point, if you say, that's it's still not there, but the AI part is what we are still working on in getting it. So what is the problem, as I was talking about, any business
Koteshwar,
that
can you make it full screen if possible? Because
it
I
is
think
full screen for me. Uh, can you see?
no, as in like project it, like just press Control L for example. Maybe that should help.
Yeah,
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah,
this
this is
is fine.
perfect. Yeah.
Okay. Uh, so the problem that we are actually trying to solve, first of all, to understand what is the problem, each of the business basically does business with a co-business without knowing their credit history, with a estimation that obviously things go well, right? But and in business world, it doesn't offer work like, cash and carry. It's always credit. So you're offering credit without knowing the, buyer's credit and payment history, right? So that is the biggest challenge that is actually leading to this problem. So we don't, the seller who's actually offering something to the buyer does not have any inputs or visibility into the financials, whether how is his business performing, to know whether he can pay really on time or not. If not, how much will he pay? So all of this is actually going to make a challenge in terms of understanding how can he receive it on time, and what happens to his cash flows. So And obviously there are other things like, invoice reconciliation. When an invoice is sent, whether it is really reconciled in terms of whether it is offset or not. If not, people always see which invoice is paid when, we don't even know. So that is another challenge. With all of this, what is happening, basically there are the payments will come, uh, the payments that are supposed to come on time are delayed for a long, and the seller is actually caught short in terms of expanding his business, or even do his regular business, right? So that is where he gets slow. And if he wants, and if there are defaulters, he needs to go and do uh, you know follow the process of legal route, and all of that is becoming an expensive, and he need to dedicate his time. So all this is basically becoming a bigger challenge, and to ensure that he is not uh, stopping his business growth, he needs to obviously take borrow loans at a higher interest. So this is the problem that we are trying to solve by offering some solutions to each of the business entity that is coming onto our platform. One, as I said, we've tied up with some business partners like ICICI, FT Cash, to offer business loan options whenever they want, they wanted to avail. And then we offer legal notice and an e-arbitration from the platform itself, because we tied up with some partners called Presolve 360, so that they can always do some of these on behalf of the members who are registering on the platform. Then there can be other couple of products which are like, if someone wants to also see the credit history by the existing means that are already there. For example, it can be a Equifax or a Sibyl, right? So they can actually look at the existing credit history if they are actually doing business with an individual, right? So that is another thing that we offer. Then trade credit insurance, because before anything, they carry out trade. If they wanted to insure their that to a certain sum, we've also partnered with some third party agencies to offer. These are all third party solutions that we are giving as a as some of the solution value added services to our members. And as a platform, what we are trying to do is, we are the data that we are trying to collect, we are trying to process that, and send some notifications in a certain pattern, so that people are aware, buyers, businesses are aware, made aware that they're supposed to make certain amounts, and we follow up for them to kind of make them on time. And we offer, as a platform, we also offer the invoice reconciliation in the application itself, so that it becomes easy which to see at any point of time which invoice is paid and which invoice is not yet accounted for. And then we offer dispute management and decision making analytics for all the businesses based on the data that they have actually presented on every that is coming every day. So this is how the notifications currently work. You can see that seller wants an invoice is submitted with all the details. Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah,
Okay.
we can hear you all right.
Yeah, seller whenever he submits a data, the invoices, based on certain criteria that the system has actually carved out based on the invoice metadata, it sends out appropriate notifications at appropriate intervals to the buyer, so that he is made aware to make these payments. And obviously, if he wants to make it offline, he can always go and make it offline to the seller, or he always has an option through the platform that he can make a payment and settle that at that instance itself. And you can see the buyer, if he logs in, and the seller will also be able to see the summary of the invoices, how much has he paid and how much is still unpaid. So he'll get to see all that data and analytics right in the platform. And one of the success case study that I would present is, one of the manufacturing company who's on the platform since almost a year and a half, was able to reduce, the default payments or late payments by almost 50%. You can see this is a proper data from their data that is submitted from that particular company, and it has really helped them, recover some of this or get some of this data payments on time, which will obviously help their business also, right, in the long run.
Yeah, they
So
works with working capital also. Yeah, uh,
correct.
also to kind of make sure that any working capital is there also to gets a better idea of of the repayment capacity, right? So when lots of people who can repay do not repay, you don't know what is the propensity of people to pay as well. So are they good creditors, or are they bad creditors?
Correct.
That's really problematic for the company. I think the reduction is quite drastic, right? From 353 to almost like 10 or below days. Yeah.
Yeah. So more and more, obviously, it should happen. The scale of our company depends on if it's actually happening with more. But that is one of the part of the product, but it's not the only product, that only solution that we are offering. And obviously the entire platform takes care of the regulation, because we are bounded by RBI guidelines, because we actually gather some of the personal data as well as some credit information data that we get from Equifax and other partners. So we are bounded by regulations and we've met all compliance. And a consent mechanism has been built on our platform whenever someone wants to view the report of some other external party, right? With a consent mechanism, only after the consent is given, we will actually provide that report. And then we are also at this point on Open as an intermediate provider, so that tomorrow if someone wants to integrate with our services, that will also help with an API to understand the business credit behavior. And obviously we do a lot of due diligence, and these are some of the partnerships that we have for legal notice, and then for credits, to offer credits for all of our members.
Yeah, so I think we have an international crowd, so just wanted to kind of call out that RBI is the just like the US Fed, the main central bank that also does some amount of financial regulation as well. Yeah, so go
Yeah,
on, go on.
correct.
Yeah.
So this is something that we were listed over the past year and 2 years for now. So that's
So,
all about the product.
Koteshwar,
We can go slightly more. If you have any questions, I can take it up before I move forward.
yeah, so Koteshwar, so do you also do some amount of credit scoring as well for for the businesses that are there? Maybe can you talk a little? Because I saw that you also use credit reports from Equifax and other third parties, but do you also do any kind of credit scoring for some people who have never been part of the credit bureau report as well?
So that is another USP of ours. But at this point, we don't give any score out because we are still not authorized to do. The credit reports
Okay.
that you are seeing for Equifax is based on an individual. For example, we have a couple
Okay.
of furniture rental companies who offer various forms of loans, or you can whatever engagement that they are doing. They wanted to evaluate the credit score of that particular individual before they offer anything, right? So the underwriting process. So that's where people are using some of their services. But the what your point is right, that we are actually working towards giving a score to the business entity going forward, because we also have something called record and report that also will be given for a particular business over the period of time. But today, if you ask me, based on the data that we have, we will not be in a position to kind of give a report, because we will have mostly 1:1 or maximum 1:2 kind of a mapping. But if tomorrow or in the future, once we have data in such a way that a lot of businesses are supporting and there is an overlap, that will be the point of context where we can derive those scores and give the ideally, whether it is you call it score or the payment history, just like any Equifax or a credit or a civil report can be provided for a particular business we wish we wanted to project. So that is our intention. And all these hooks that you are seeing, the products that we are building, obviously are in that line.
Cool. Yeah, Vivek, do you have any questions, or should we move on to the team? I think we talked about the product. Let's talk a little bit about the team in
Yep.
short, and let's quickly get to the architecture part as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, no questions from my end, but I just remember my days when I was in startup, where we had 90 days of credit, and we used to go to the bank and make sure that get those loans on based on the credit and other things. So there was no easy way to manage these things. So this product actually is solving that problem. Yeah, let's go ahead, Koteshwar, to the
Yeah,
team
as
then.
you brought that point, just wanted to cover on one thing. The reason why you saw AI, right? That's where I just wanted to stress, right? Because today you said there is 90 days credit, but this kind of varies between different sectors on different geographies also. So we cannot use the same, same rule for everywhere. Tomorrow, whenever we wanted to kind of, even either you wanted to score or you want to call someone a defaulter or whatever. So that is where this AI we wanted to bring this in and see how do we kind of not generalize but still build it in a uniform fashion, maybe for a sector or for a geography, or maybe certain kind of businesses it can be completely different. So that is where we wanted to the AI will come into picture as and when we move to the next level.
Perfect. Let's move on with the team, Koteshwar. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is the structure right now we have at our at Recordant. So I head the technology division, both product and technology report to me, and then you have the quality and the audits team. So obviously we do a lot of due diligence in terms of what kind of product should we actually get. So the product team takes care of all of that, and then the technology team where there is we manage Azure infrastructure. Then we some sort of work we also outsource to our vendors, and then in-house development, and then there is production and IT support that we also do. So in a broad level, this is what we do. We have obviously, if we talk about the application architecture, we are working on a mean stack. So obviously there are some front end developers, there are back end developers, and some full stack developers. There is a mix of all of them. So moving to the architecture, this is the platform architecture that we have as of today, where you see the left hand side. This is the entire data that can flow either through the web interface or through the ERPs that we have built. It can be Tally or it can be the database integration. So once the data comes, obviously the on top of the database layer, we have the application middleware layer where you have Power BI reports that are exposed for business analytics. Then the entire business logic for each of the implementation. Then there is a consent engine that I was talking about for the reports. Then obviously payment gateway integration, and there are a couple of third-party integrations that we are also doing for Equifax and others. And then there is a dispute mechanism. So this is the application layer that we have, and the front end layer, obviously, where the web application and the responsive mobile applications work, are built on Angular, which expose the business analytics also. And we have a buyer module and a seller module, both of them. And then there is notification reports that we are actually trying to, a credit reports that we are actually trying to expose to the external parties via an API, right? No, that doesn't have any interface, but it's actually people are consuming with APIs that we expose. And there is a chatbot CRM that we are building. It is in progress at this point. So the notifications module that we are actually having covers SMS, email, and IVR. WhatsApp is under progress as of today. So this is the platform architecture on how it is structured today. Obviously, there will be more add-ons as we move. The AI part and others will also come in.
So I just wanted to talk a little bit. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah, we can. We
Okay.
can.
yeah.
So I wanted to talk a little bit more about what kind of language and frameworks do you use for the middle layer. I mean, obviously, on the top you have that Angular and JavaScript, but other than Power BI, what is like the consent engine, payment, what is all of that middle layer written in, where you both pull in data and also apply your business logic.
Yeah, so we are on mean stack. If you want, I'll just go through this. So the entire tech stack is built. So it is not Mongo, so not a pure play mean stack, but it is MySQL and the entire backend is written in Express framework on top of Node, and the front end is on Angular. So whatever the application layer that you saw is purely written in Express, which is obviously the
So,
JavaScript framework.
so how do you store your data in MySQL? Do you store it in a structured format or unstructured format? Because typically, the reason why MongoDB is preferred is because it's easier to store and query unstructured data itself, right? So, what is known as like the mean or the MERN stack? Yeah.
Yeah, we store it in completely structured format because we did not find the use case where majority of the data that we are getting is unstructured. So obviously we still get a lot of everything is structural and relational also. So we did not feel that it can go completely to that level. Maybe in future, if there is a certain modules that are needing it, obviously we can branch out and build microservices with that particular architecture. But at this point, it's all structured and obviously relational.
Great. Also, I think maybe can you tell us about what services on the Azure Cloud are you using? Maybe walk us through some of that as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll quickly cover, I think, this same as what we discussed. So we are basically having a mobile and sorry, web and a mobile responsive application, and all our application was initially running on a web hosting provider, but we migrated since last year May. We started the migration and we migrated completely onto Azure. We went live this year in Jan. So you want to go through the so some of the integrations that we are and whatever compliances that I was talking about, we are compliance with ISO 27001 and CISA compliance as per RBI, and these are some of the integrations that I was talking about with respect to third parties. So we'll come to IT infrastructure. So you're talking about Azure. So these
So
are some,
Koteshwar, just one question I have before we go here
yeah, yeah,
is you talked about migrating from a web hosting to
yeah,
Azure. So
correct.
can you just list out a couple of challenges you faced when you're doing this migration, and what were those challenges and how did you overcome that while you're doing that migration?
Are you saying before migration what were the challenges or only during migration?
During migration, so basically there would be an application which you already have on a web hosting and you
Hmm.
want to migrate that to cloud, and what was your process, and probably while in that process you would have some kind of challenges. So what were those challenges, and what were the how did you overcome those challenges?
Okay, so see, the migration was slightly different in our case because it was not a pure play application that is already existing there. We are migrating. We were actually on a different stack altogether on the earlier, before uh, March, April 2021, which is on LAMP stack, which is we built it on Laravel. But the challenge was it was done as a prototype and it got extended with a very basic version of the application. There was no API layer built. So in that context, we also at the point of migrating both onto Azure, we also thought of migrating everything onto Azure, sorry, mean stack, while revamping the entire user experience, right? So the migration was slightly longer than anticipated because of all these other concerns, not just Azure migration in itself. Now, with respect to Azure migration, if I have to talk, obviously, understanding, I think I was talking about, resource crunch, right? To be frank, getting people to do that revamp and migrate the entire application which was there on an old stack is one task, and then the other point is parallelly, because infrastructure migration can happen parallelly, right? So we were actually trying to understand how Azure services work, whether to go with VM based or serverless architecture or not. And then there is definitely related to performance issues. Are we able to connect well with the performance and offer the latency that we are already offering? Then how do we address the uh, auto scaling to ensure there is no failover, at least with the instances that we have? So these are some of the challenges in terms of finding out what resources that we need to use. I think we had Microsoft has recommended has a partner who were also helping us in terms of both architecture wise, in terms of taking the right decisions, and also kind of guiding us whenever a particular information is needed on a particular Azure software service. So though that help we always got, so with that we were able to go smoothly. I would say the only challenge that we faced was, in spite of the learning, apart from the learning, the challenges that we faced were related to the security with respect to app service plans and things like that, where we wanted a complete isolation for production environment, and then this, and then there is the performance issues that we were facing. So these are the only issues that we had during migration.
Got it, got it. So just to understand, one of the aspect is, so you were debating, we should deploy this on VM or on, functions or serverless, right? So why did you choose serverless there? Because I see in your architecture it was serverless, right?
Yeah, one reason obviously is the cost effect, because we are not having so much users at that particular instance, and we wanted to have, obviously we don't want to also manage this each servers. That will also be an overhead, and obvious, and even in when you go with VMs, obviously cost is slightly more. Considering for a startup, we were trying to use as much as it can be, right, with Azure App Services. So that was one of the primary reason, and we are now no longer managing anything, because the container, the app service, when you have whatever container, especially we are using main stack, so a Node.js container is always available for us, even if we wanted to scale it to any environments that we are using internally, instead of setting up maybe one dedicated VM and trying to configure everything explicitly for one particular port and expose it. So all that is gone. So that abstraction is something which was smooth for me, because initially I was doing all of this, but today I got some of my teammates also were able to just spin out an app service and try to get an environment which is on demand.
Perfect, perfect. So go ahead, Koteshwar, with the slide.
Yeah. So Azure services, that's where we are talking about. So we were initially doing app services both for front end as well as back end. That's where I was talking about performance issues. The web application was, the load time of the web application was slightly delayed, or not up to the mark, and that is where we had to change it to Azure Static Web App, which by default has the compression techniques enabled. Like I think it has Broccoli uh, or sorry, I don't remember it, GZ, and there is another compression technique. So those are by default there, and our application load time is now, in spite of this being a single page application, it's around 4.5 at this point. An average latency. Earlier, it was with app service, it was ranging from 20 to 30 seconds. So that was one big challenge that we faced for a long time. So this, after we went live, we had to convert this to an Azure Static Web App, and then we were able to resolve this performance issue. So all our front ends were on Azure Static Web App, whereas the back end is still Azure App Service with a multi-tenant, where we are also trying to expose this for some of our customers with their own domain. So that's the purpose of using multi-tenant. And we are using MySQL single server. There is a flexible server for better performance that we might do as part of our DR exercise, but at this point we are using single server, and we are using the regular containers for storage, and Redis cache for distributed sessions and all. Azure Data Factory, we are using one of the use cases that I was talking about is database to database processing, right? Because we have some customers who have given access to their database, because they have huge amount of data, like 5 lakh to 6 lakh records worth of invoices, and then similar amount with respect to payment. So processing all of this on a Node.js by writing a script is basically a time consuming, and we tried, it doesn't work. So Azure Data Factory as a tool offers much more flexibility in getting the data in a fraction of second. And after that, what you wanted to do you want to write any business processing logic or whatever you wanted to do is something that you can build on top of it. So this really helped us in expediting that. But yeah, identifying that this is the right tool took some time because we are new to Microsoft Azure services and all. Then the Power BI, we are using it for business analytics, the business analytics that we are offering. So that is basically built as part of Power BI. So we integrated with into our Angular application and expose all the Power BI as embedded reports to our members. There are one or two premium members for whom we offer complete Power BI Pro, so that they can manage their entire reports also in their own console. So we use both versions. And then we use Azure Batches. This is specifically to process anything uh, internal to our system, because as a data company, we are getting huge amount of data, and this also is causing problems in terms of any small exercise that we need to do on the entire data for whatever reason to we need to we are facing challenges with respect to memory and others on the app services. So what we've done, we exposed Azure Batches for the independent tasks, which will spin up a small VM, executes the task, and closes it. So this is another service that we have used. And then private VNet we are using to ensure the data, the DMZ is maintained, so that all of these app service and the entire backend database, everything is tied together, because these are on cloud. And obviously there are other things like application insights for to know more metrics about the entire services. And we use complete Azure DevOps pipelines. We use both release and build pipelines to deploy both the front end applications and the back end applications across all the environments to use DevOps. Currently we have our code hosted on GitHub. So with that we have integrated DevOps. And obviously we use Active Directory both internally as well as for Power BI, where it needs service principal and others, right? So these are all the Azure services that we have been using for the past 8 months or so. And some of the Azure services that we are planning to use to make it still better, as a fintech, that is one of the things that we are talking about. We are always complied by SLAs to our customers also, right? So we have to have a DR setup. We finalized an active passive model for the DR setup, and this is something that we are about to start by October. And then once it is done, we will have the DR setup also ready. And as part of this, we are going to have this API management console, which today is not there, which can help your uh, if anything with respect to a service, you want to prevent a DDoS attack, or you want to implement API throttling at certain APIs which are vulnerable. We have the flexibility if we have this in place. And then the web firewall and application gateway is something that will also be added as part of this new restructuring. And Azure
So
VPN, we are asking because we wanted to eliminate some of these lower environments to be exposed to the outside world. So these are some of the things that we have planned for.
So, are you affected by data residency rules? Are you operating only in India or other places as well? So, any
Yes,
thoughts
so
on
we don't
that?
have at this point any such rule, but what we have encountered was today, if you saw Equifax, we were also thinking of exposing Equifax US reports for businesses who are doing in India to check their reports when they do exports and imports to know the credit history, right? So that is when we found out that we cannot get Azure Equifax US data and store it on uh, in Indian geography, right? So that is why those are certain rules that we found out. But at this point, we are, even if there is a rule, we are complying, because we are not storing anything outside of India, because all our servers are, even the region that we've selected is Central India within this. So we do not have at this point anything like that. Even if there is, we are not violating.
Cool, cool.
There were security guidelines that always comes up, right? So you have to ensure the privacy and security of the data is utmost priority for anyone, because this is something even today a lot of our customers keep asking, how secure is my data? So in addition to the, see, earlier we had obviously the web hosting. When we are not on Azure, we are very vulnerable. We don't have high availability. We don't even, there were instances once or twice it went down for some reason, and we had to, run pillar to post to get that up, right? All those things will not happen. At the same time, security now, with all these firewalls, and by default there is a uh, firewall that is offered by Azure, and we wanted to also add web firewall. All of this is one place, and one aspect. The other aspect that we've also inculcated into this, the entire PII data that is stored on our database is all encrypted again, as one more layer. So even if someone logs in to Microsoft MySQL database that we have, any user by mistake also, if he logs in, he sees only encrypted data there. So there is no way that anyone can actually see a plain text data of PAI of any of our members or customers.
Okay. How do you manage your keys? And I saw that you're not yet using Azure Key Vault. Have you considered, any kind of key management, especially for encryption keys or any API keys, because you're pulling a lot of data from multiple different APIs as well.
Correct. So key management we did not use, because we are, so by default Azure offers inbuilt encryption for data at rest, and automatically when you query it is decrypted and given. So that
Right.
is when it offers the key, so that in case if we wanted to explicitly use any of our key. But as I said, we are also having an additional encryption of this entire PA data. We did not want to go that route yet, to see to use that. One of the primary reasons is also because we are not using database level encryption. We are using this at the API layer and putting that back into the database. That was the reason. Uh, so what you were talking about, we wanted to explore once we have plans to actually push this encryption and decryption also to the database layer than the API layer. So once that happens, we can explore these keys also.
Okay. Great. Great.
Sorry, I got lost because of some power issues.
No, no
So
worries.
we can move on,
So
Koteshwara.
this is our current topology. So we have AD, Azure Active Directory, and then the app services that we have, uh, and then the MySQL database with storage and Redis cache, and then the Power BI. And mainly the ARP integration happens with things like Tally, and then there is external integration also that we do with external databases. So currently, this is the architecture that we are actually running. The post DR setup, obviously, we will have two instances, complete replicas in a different region altogether. And obviously, this is where I was talking about, having VPNs and sorry, virtual network VNets also coming into picture, and things like that. So once we have this in place, then the entire database will become, the system becomes more uh, less vulnerable, and we will be able to serve all these SLAs that we have.
So one question I had there was on the app service you are using. So app service, which plan you are using there? Um,
For production, we are using standard S3, if I'm not wrong, and for uh, lower environments that we had, I think it is basic,
mm,
or
got it.
maybe S1 for one of the versions. So
Got it.
we have obviously one production, and then there is one demo environment, uh, and then there is a UAT environment and a dev environment. So these are the environments. So only production is obviously highly scalable. So we have S3 there, and then for others, I think except for UAT, others are on basic, and the other UAT I think is on S1, if I'm not wrong.
Got it.
So this is all I have. So if you have any questions, I'll take it up. If not, we can just quickly go through how our platform looks by a small quick demo.
Vivek, do we have any questions from the audience?
Yes, there is one question, but I have lost the chat. So, Rashmita, if you have that question with you, the specifically, I saw a question, basically on uh, how would you push your customer to use credit systems or use the platform uh, for for the credit system. So, how do they get evangelized? From a, this is not from a tech perspective, but from a non-tech, how do they get evangelized to use your platform for their customers as well? So that was the question. Can you bring it up again?
Okay. So
Let me bring
I
it up.
think,
Yeah.
hello.
So there is a question which is there. I've just popped it up. As a new business, how do we convince existing buyers to pay or trade through Recordent?
To pay through Recordent. See, that is a flexibility, right? That is what fintechs offer. It's a convenience. We are not saying it's a mandate that they have to pay through our platform only. It's just like uh, one, they if they feel that they need a proof, it's much better. It's a digital journey that is built in. And then the other thing, if they're not mandated, they can always go. So if businesses, the members who are coming onto our platform feels that they need, instead of capturing all of this at one place offline, if they wanted to encourage their buyers to use it through the buyer journey, they can always help them to understand that there is a digital journey that is in place with this platform, and then they can actually get it done. So it's neither mandatory from platform perspective. It's only convenience that we are offering to both buyers and sellers to ensure that there is a digital journeys that are available in other ways is not at all there for today's SME market.
Got it. Got it. So let's see a demo. I think that will clear out a lot of things uh, for the audience as well.
Okay, let me know if you can see my browser. I'll just bring it up, bring our platform. Can you see my browser? I just got my landing page.
Yeah, we can see that.
So this is our website where the entire members as well as the buyers can log in. So let me quickly log in to a member that we have. So this is how the platform looks. Obviously there are various products for them, so they can submit. So this is the summary of number of buyers currently that are there for this particular seller, right? And number of amount of dues that are submitted, and amount of dues collected, and what is the rest that needs to be still collected, right? So how do you ingest data into the platform? So it can be a business customer or an individual customer. So you have an individual user interface for all the sellers to kind of ingest their data and put their invoices, and then push the data onto the platform. Then there is a this is obviously for maybe one or single or multiple customers, right? You cannot do more than that. Then you have a batch upload facility that you can do by downloading this template and then upload this batch file, so that also happens, where you can upload multiple data onto the system. Then you have tally plugin, where once you contact us, you'll get a tally plugin through which the entire data can happen seamlessly from the tally software itself, and all the data will come into the system. Or whatever data that is coming into the system, you will be able to see it here. All your buyers, you can see whether it is an individual buyer or a business buyer, and how many invoices they have, what is the total debit, and what is the closing balance right now. And if seller wants to rate any of the member, right? Saying that this particular buyer is mostly on time, or it is a rating that is given by the seller himself, right? So we capture all of that, and then there are notifications that can be sent. Do you want so basic or premium, or do you don't want to send notifications? It actually talks about the frequency, so the notifications are sent as and when there is an overdue, right? So there are number of invoices against each of the buyer, so you will see all these invoices, and then using the invoice you can immediately make a payment, and then you see that invoice is completely paid off. Or let's say I make a payment of 1 lakh, so you'll be able to see that the payments will automatically be reflected, right? All of that will actually happen automatically. And then each of the notification that we send, all that notifications the platform is sending, if you want to trace all of that, you'll be able to see all the notifications, how many customers, the entire summary is there, and how many notifications have been sent so far, how many SMS have been sent, how many emails have been sent, how many IVRs have been sent, and if there is any failure, it will highlight. And when have these notifications been sent also can be looked at. So there is a time, and then there is a status against each of that, and then there is, so
So,
you
so,
can.
so can I send a notification to the customers to pay the dues through this?
Correct. So that is the notification that is today sent by the platform. So you are
So it's
asking,
basically I
instead of
can,
platform sending, do you want to explicitly send?
yeah. So basically with my own message or something like that. Is it something,
Your
or
own
it is
message.
your own?
Correct. Understood. So one, it is on demand. Can I trigger? And two, can I trigger with my own version of message? Right. This is what you are basically trying to
Yeah.
send. So because it is a transactional SMS, there are some guidelines that we need to abide. Any kind of message cannot go out. But as an email, yes, you can always send, as long as it is approved by the platform, that all the language, everything is genuine, it will be done. But yeah, that feature is not there. It is in progress. We have there are some customers who have asked for that, and that's something that is actually coming. One, the frequency they wanted to decide. Two, they wanted to send their own customized version of the message.
Can you send mobile notifications as well?
This is mobile SMS, but you're talking about a push notification, are you saying?
Yeah,
Or
yeah, yeah, yeah.
no, but we don't have an app, right? So if we have an
Okay,
app, that makes sense. And actually that doesn't really make sense here, because the notification is being sent to the buyer. See, here a member who has come onto our platform is a seller who is pushing all his buyer's details onto our platform, right? So seller is having the application and access to the service, but buyer will not have. Even if we build an application, buyer will not be forced or entitled to download our application. Seller can always do. So
okay,
that way it is not complete. But the buyer can always log into the system, because we implicitly create an account with a mobile number for that particular buyer, so he can always log in into our system without he creating an account. But having a
okay.
mobile app, even if we build in future, it's very unlikely that a mobile buyer will always have Recordent app, but the sellers can always have.
Got it, got it.
Yeah. So that is notification reports, and this is the Power BI that we have built. So based on the data that is submitted so far onto the system, we show them how the analytics actually works, right? So based on the data that is available, and the different metrics that we actually provide to them. So this is what we have exposed as an embedded report. How many businesses are there? How many invoices have been submitted? What is the payment submitted so far? And they can also see this at multiple levels. How is the sales rent over the different financial years, right? Then see how receipts are actually coming. Then do you want to analyze the customers? How is a customer behaving? So basically select a specific customer, and then the details related to the customer actually pops up at the bottom. So all these details are available at the for the member, so that he can actually analyze all of this. And then overdue analysis, how was this overdue panning out? You can see that receivable amounts across these different buckets, right? The delinquencies that we call, how are they panned out? So this gives us, in terms of giving a summary of where his overdue is actually being spent. So once the member, again within the subscription, if he subscribes to this analytics, then he will be able to, utilize this. And then the
Okay.
credit reports that I was talking about, you can see that, if I wanted to see the report of someone, you can just basically give the name and mobile number. Once the details are given, the consent will be sent to the concerned person's mobile number, and then he has to give the details, whatever is needed to get the report. One is consent, the other one is his identity number, which is like, in this case, it can be a PAN number or a voter ID, whatever is there, right? So that only because the person knows, the consent is provided, and the journey is built in such a way that, they will provide all the details, and then they can actually capture, once the consent is given, they will be able to see the report. Without, if the consent is rejected, obviously there is no way, someone wants to access also, we will not give the report. And this is not a and this is one of the reasons, where RBI guidelines also comes into picture. We are capturing this data, whoever is requesting for credit information of someone else's, or trying to get their data, because this we store in our system, both in compliance with Equifax guidelines, and RBI guidelines. In fact, the
So,
CISA audit I was talking about has been recently certified, and we've given all the information for that.
just to add to that, there's a new framework, policy framework called account aggregator. So, are you looking at implementing something like that as well?
That is what is that OCEN, right? OCEN, Open Credit Network Enablement. So all these
Okay.
account aggregators are part of that framework as intermediaries who
Okay.
offer these consent based financial services to someone. And the moment consent is completed, you will no longer have access to that. You have control in terms of giving consent at how long
And
you
for
want to give
others
consent,
and
and
how
when
long?
do you want to withdraw, right? So in that context, if someone wants to obviously utilize our services, we are still in talks, but we are onboarded as an intermediary. But
Okay.
that is something also we are exploring.
Fantastic.
And
Cool.
then the legal notice feature, that you can always see which customer do you want to raise a legal notice. You can basically make a payment, and then we send it to our partner, and then they will basically take it up from there. And then the dispute mechanism. So any buyer, because any seller can just raise a dispute and say no, someone needs to pay so much of amount, right? But it can be it can the buyer should have the option to dispute it, and saying that no, this is incorrect information, or this is not my due, I already paid. So that dispute mechanism is already built in place. And whenever such a dispute has been raised by a member, by a buyer to a member, we don't send notifications to ensure till the dispute is resolved, right? So we take care, the system takes care of all of that.
Perfect. I think we are just over time. Um,
Yeah, I think that's all I have. So any questions, I'll be happy to help.
yeah, so we can wait for 2 more minutes while people have questions. They can post it in the chat. While we wait for them to share questions to us, uh, we can, I mean, I can share a couple of things. One is you can go back and apply to Founders Hub, right? So if you have an idea, you just go there and apply to Founders Hub. Use Scale Up Thursday at Microsoft.com as the reference. That's something which you can do. And also, if you're building early stage startup, you can go back and just access the aka.ms Scale Up Thursday, and you can learn module as well. Okay, so let me wait for questions. Okay, there is a question. Uh, so, who handles the dispute if neither party agrees? So, this is a good question actually.
So yeah, so obviously there is a member services team that we have who actually talk with them, interact with whenever there is a dispute. So one, there is a dispute reminder mechanism that we keep sending, and if no party is basically handling it, we have to go by the data that is provided either by the member or by the uh, buyer. But ultimately the decision has to lie with the member, because it is who he is coming and saying that they are actually putting the data onto the platform. Recordant cannot step in here and say you are wrong, you are right. We are just a facility provider for them to resolve. So that's where we offer solutions like legal notice and e-arbitration, right? If someone is fooling around, they can then genuinely go. But if buyer is on the right side, obviously member will hesitate to go and file legal notice if there is something that is wrong. But that's where we stop, but we don't interfere much beyond that.
Cool. I think we are pretty much done with all the questions. Vinayak, you have any questions?
Can I stop
No,
sharing?
no, I think we are good. I think we got a good overview of of the decision making, the architecture, the product as well. So I think we have pretty much covered everything, and also you did a intro to Founders Up again. So I think we are at time. We can probably stop here.
Yep. Thank you, Koteshwar, for taking your time, coming onto the show, and sharing your valuable insights. This is an amazing thing, and we wish all the best to you as well. And hope to see you on other platforms as well. Thank you for
Yeah,
making it here. Thank
thank you.
you.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Vinayak, for being here.
Thanks
Thank you,
everyone.
Rashmita, for hosting it.
Thanks Vic. Thanks Koteshwar for being on the show.
Thank you.